Lessons learned while playing Celeste. If at first you don't succeed, try again. And again. And again. And again. Another lesson was, let me just try this part of the level one more time. I've nearly got it. Another lesson, really more of a consequence, I suddenly have an unusual desire for strawberry jam. And lastly, my thumbs are sore. Celeste is a very difficult precision 2D platformer with great music, great visuals, and a heartwarming story you will work to complete without toggling on any assist mode help. But assist mode is there for you to use if you want to, but it's strongly encouraged you do your best first attempts at it without assist mode. Completing the game the way it was intended to feels very rewarding. Madeline worked hard to overcome her challenges to climb the mountain, and I worked hard to overcome the 2D platforming challenges. But if you're frustrated and stuck, it's better to finish with help than start and quit due to frustration. Celeste was developed by the formerly known Maddy Makes Games Incorporated, now rebranded to Extremely OK Games Limited, and released in 2018. Celeste stands on the shoulders of giants. I don't know how accurate it is for younger people these days, but when I was growing up, the most popular games were 2D platformers. Who doesn't love Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo Entertainment System, Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis, or Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo? I could go on. There was a time when 2D platformers ruled the console world. We've seen a few different changes to the 2D platformer genre over the years, with the Kaizo Mario World ROM hacks, Cave Story, Super Meat Boy, among others. My opinion on Super Meat Boy is pretty well documented. I've covered it in an older video, which I don't suggest checking out, because it's old and painful for me to watch. My point is, Celeste has a lot to live up to make itself noteworthy in this genre, and it absolutely does. It has all the great things about indie games that I love: unique art, music, and style. You can't get a product like this from a AAA developer because it's not designed to appeal to the biggest audience. Although it definitely can because of 2D platformer classicness. You play as Madeline, who is on an adventure on her own trying to escape some past troubles in her life as she applies herself to the task of climbing the mountain Celeste. But it turns out the mountain has some mystical powers and her demons quite literally come to life as she climbs to the summit. Along the way, she'll meet Grandma, an Instapics influencer who you can find on Instagram in real life, and a hotel owner. The story is a nice respite between the tough 2D platforming for the rest of the game, but it's also heartwarming how the characters interact with each other, and I thought it was well written. The characters have their own bit-tune / chiptune voices instead of voice actors. And the character's drawn style was very complimentary to the pixel-themed gameplay. Celeste just was destined to hit all the right points for me to absolutely adore it. I felt like the gameplay and story were very complementary to each other. I found myself comparing Celeste and Super Meat Boy because both have their instant death, instant respawn, and try again with extremely difficult 2D platforming. But where Super Meat Boy is more shallow in its story, much like classic 2D Mario games, "Sorry, your princess is in another castle," Celeste is actually trying to tell a story, starting out with the goal of climbing the mountain, then facing opposition to climbing the mountain, the clear visualization of you're standing in your own way, with Madeline facing off against her demons, the failures, and then ultimately the success. This is all the earmarks of typical storytelling. Of course, before someone gets upset with me by saying typical storytelling, when I say typical storytelling, I don't mean commonplace or unremarkable. I mean it follows the same progression most well-told Western stories follow. It's the hero's journey, or in this case, it's the heroine's journey. By way of a reminder for those of you unfamiliar with this concept, it's probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular way of storytelling in the Western world, where the protagonist answers the call to adventure, faces adversaries or troubles along the way, is changed in some way, and then reaches the goal at the end. Think of some of the most well-known stories. In Lord of the Rings, Frodo is pulled into the adventure, faces literal armies of orcs, and at the end, destroys the ring. In Harry Potter, Harry is marked from birth, faces numerous enemies in each book, sometimes new, sometimes old, and at the end, must defeat he who must not be named. In Star Wars A New Hope, Luke Skywalker receives the call to leave the farm, battles against the Empire, and in the end saves the day by destroying the Death Star. Turning our attention back to today's review for Celeste, Madeline receives the call to adventure by climbing Celeste Mountain, faces her adversary in her own inner demons, but ultimately scales to the summit of Celeste. It's all the same template, if you will, but it's the way you follow the template that matters. The structure is told in good and bad stories alike, but how you go about telling the story, it's the detail between the broad strokes which show the quality of your story. How does your protagonist cope, grow, or win? And the believability of that process will be the difference between a bad story, forgettable story, or a good story. Celeste's story is told well and encourages the player to keep going, to not give up, to persevere and see it through to the end, perfectly complementing the idea of climbing a mountain, narratively and literally. Celeste is a 2D platformer, therefore the controls are pretty straightforward: movement, climbing, jumping, and wall jumping. I first tried playing with a keyboard, which was possible, but not very advisable. Please do yourself a favor and play with a controller or on the Steam Deck. Celeste is hard enough without making it harder with fighting against the keyboard input limits. Also, with cloud saves, I could seamlessly jump between playing on my computer and the Steam Deck. Just wanted to make a quick note, Celeste works well on the Steam Deck from the comfort of my own TV and couch. As you progress through the game, you'll encounter new ways of moving with either new abilities like a directional dash, wave dashing, or an extra jump when you dash through some special boxes. Each level will have its own theme in appearance, music soundtrack, and gameplay gimmick. Seeing as Celeste is sometimes painfully difficult, thankfully the developer wasn't cruel about it. When you die, you near instantly respawn to try again, and whenever you move to another screen, you respawn there. Not at the start of the level. If I had to play through the whole level in one life, take me out, coach. I can't do it. I think I died at least over 100 times on each level in Celeste. Celeste must have been made by optimists. Before you start a level, you get a cute little letter with tips or advice. Before starting the third level, a tip popped up and said, "Be proud of your death count. The more you die, the more you're learning. Keep going." While at the time, I did feel a little patronized by the developer. "Here, you made it through. Have a gold star. Failure is the first step to success." And whatever other wise Confucius say, "He who steals and runs away lives to steal another day." Personally, motivational stuff you might say to encourage me, at the time of pain, I'm just not really in a mind frame to hear it, cause I hate failing more than almost anything else in life. But in Celeste, you can tell you're actually being encouraged. I noticed the supportive, optimistic touches from beginning to the very end, where they gave me a telescope to look at the summit of Celeste to say, without even using words, "You're almost there. You can do it." Holy crap. This isn't like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, where the motivational speeches seem to just spur on the rage. In Celeste, you're actually feeling supported to keep on going, even if the game is not pulling any punches in difficulty to the very end. Speaking of the difficulty, there are optional secondary objectives in Celeste to collect strawberries. They're completely optional. The developer tells you so with a pop-up hint. You could go through the whole game and ignore the strawberries, but for those of you who are looking to push the limits of the 2D platforming mechanics in Celeste, you'll want to go for the strawberries. There were some strawberries where I said, "There's no way," and sometimes I would figure out how to get them, but I would just say I got lucky. Others were hidden too well, or I couldn't figure out how to get them, and with other strawberries, I took a few attempts and said, "No. There's no way I'm getting that and still finishing this game." This was a very real problem for me because I discovered a B-side on level 2 and tried it out after finishing level 2. Turns out B-side isn't just an alternative music track, it's a redo of the level on hard mode. And I got far enough into the B-side, I didn't want to give up and redo it. So I accidentally trapped myself in level 2 B-side for about 30 minutes, when my goal was to just play through the game and grab the easier extras. I didn't read the store's description, but one of the bullet points says, "Brutal B-side chapter to unlock, built for only the bravest mountaineers." I was not brave enough to beat B-side for World 2. I was ignorant and not watching where I was going when I walked into that brick wall. That said, I love to find and unlock the B-sides because they play my favorite version of the soundtrack, but I barely got through the main game. I cannot do any more B-sides without help. I just can't do it. I can't. In conclusion, Celeste is great. I really enjoyed smaller, by themselves almost peripheral details, but added together really created a special gem of a game. Celeste is mostly precision platforming, but it has a heartwarming story, a lovely soundtrack. I love the choice for voices. The pixeled styled theme will make it continue to look great years from now. Celeste is difficult, but totally worth the work to finish. And if you find it too tough, you can always toggle on assist mode, and that makes it more accessible to those that need or want it. Personally, I don't think I'm good at 2D platformers. I don't know exactly where I stack up because my wife said she didn't think she could have gotten through Celeste. But I hold that I'm somewhere around the average skill level group, maybe a little bit lower than average. Coming into Celeste, I haven't played a 2D platformer like this since Super Meat Boy back in 2016. It's been a while since I've played this genre, and you normally don't get better at video games as you get older. After about 10 hours of playing, I completed Celeste with 87 out of 175 strawberries and died a total of 2,125 times. I earned 13 out of 32 achievements, or 41% of the achievements for Celeste on Steam. I'm making note of this because I plan on getting more achievements with the assist mode, but I'll be the first to say I really don't deserve anything more than what I'm telling you I got right now. When I'm getting achievements, I try to get them as efficiently and as easily as possible. Why work super hard when I can replay on easy mode and not fight as hard? And if that's not possible, I don't get them. I don't have time to grind out on games for the insane title. That ship has sailed. It's the weird duality I have as a highly achievement-oriented individual, but this is my therapy session where I'm confessing what I'm about to do, so shut up and listen to my confession. Father, I have sinned. I have turned on the assist mode to get the harder stuff in the game, but I do not deserve it. What? You scum! You don't deserve those achievements! We're just gonna end this video with a bit of a discussion I'd like some feedback on. Maybe I'm just rationalizing or justifying to myself, but if a game lets me get an achievement in an easy way, I'm going for it. If I couldn't get achievements on Celeste with assist mode, I just wouldn't get them at this point, and I wouldn't see anything else in the game. Maybe it's a buy the online community thing, since most people don't care about achievements anyway, and you can always cheat your achievements to unlock them all. But for me personally, I made a new game and toggled on assist mode there, so I can track my non-assist mode progress if I ever find myself with a plethora of free time and no idea what to spend it on, so I can go back to my original game. That's not happening, by the way. Even when I'm old enough to retire, I doubt I'll ever have time to do everything I want to do ever again. That being said, I breezed through the rest of the post-game on assist mode. I was flabbergasted just how incredibly difficult the 2D platforming could get. There's no way I would ever be able to play through the C sides of these levels, never mind the final level. It doesn't sit right with me that I've actually gotten all the achievements in Celeste, because I don't deserve them. I'd prefer there was an extra achievement or two so the people who actually can 100% Celeste have the proper credit. Because what an incredible 2D platformer it is. And what a feat to keep on going after the post-game. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Hopefully my video has been helpful. What do you think about my achievement dilemma? Have you gotten into Celeste yet? What do you think of the game? My name is Atratzu, and I'm gonna go eat some strawberries. My wife made me get some strawberries because she kept seeing me get strawberries in the game, and now she has the rumblies only strawberries can fulfill. See you in the next video. My thumbs hurt.